You're watching the Bethel College Football Show.
Shire in at QB, throws the outlet. It's jumped by Trey Palmer. He's going to take it for a pick six. Touchdown, Bethel. He catches it in midfield. Braden Francis from 91 yards from Zach Esau.
Now here's your host, Dan Page, with football coach Terry Harrison.
Welcome to the Thresher Football Show. Dan Page alongside head coach of the Bethel College football team, Terry Harrison. And should I mention the superlative of KCAC Coach of the Year for 2020, as well as Coach Kemp, Assistant Coach of the Year for the conference. All that kind of wrapped up in the spring and everything, Coach. But here we are again, thinking about football. I know it's been a short off season for you guys. What have you been up to?
Well, you know, with the short off season, it was kind of bizarre, you know. So trying to get everything you would have done normally in the spring, in a spring ball scenario, moving into the summer, and you know, trying to get guys moved in, and you know, getting ready for camp, which happened really fast after playing. You know, normally that's like a 7-month break or whatever it is, and so you know, it was a little more of a challenge as far as feeling like you didn't have as much off time, but also, you know, we were frustrated losing in our last playoff game, and you just get to come back a little sooner, which is kind of cool, right? So that's one of the benefits of being here earlier. But no, we're so excited, you know, recruiting and excited about the class we have now. All of our returners, who obviously are a bunch of special kids, watching those guys combine and become a team over camp has been really cool. And you know, like you mentioned, we had such a great year last year, and you don't want to move past it, you know, as far as not recognize people deserve it. But, you know, when you win games, you get awards. And so it was more proud of Coach Kemp than definitely anything that I would have gotten, you know, just proud of him. I've known him for so long and worked with him so long. And then all of our kids that won awards, from Player of the Year, Zach, Esau, to Defensive Player of the Year, Josh. And so it's been fun to see the growth of our program. And, you know, this idea that when you win, you reap the rewards of winning through some individual awards, which has been cool. And so cool because our kids don't necessarily, that's not necessarily the goal, but it is when you put the team first and you try to put a good product on the field, those things come. So that was a pretty good year.
And Coach, with a bulk of your team returning, obviously in the off season you want to do some culture things to, you know, keep spirits high and everything. You got to do some hiking. In late July was it?
Yeah. So we took we decided, you know, we wanted to do something for these guys that are, you know, have committed to this program for 4 years, and then also our guys that are summer lifters. And so, yeah, in July we went out to Colorado, and we hiked a mountain there, and we went whitewater rafting. And so, man, I think we were there 3 nights is what it was. But man, it was fun because, you know, it really wasn't anything scripted. It was just we got out there. We enjoyed time together. We kind of had some brief meetings about kind of our goals for this year and, you know, things like that. But no, it was great. And you know, our hope is it becomes something we do every year. You know, and we're going to go to the same spot and do that. And so no, that was great. Something it's the first time I've done that, so it was really cool for me. But you know, we did that, and it was great. If you've never hiked an actual ski slope, that is much different than walking a trail. I'll just say that. So it will be a legendary story to tell for the rest of us, because we had to earn our way to the top. I'll just leave it at that. And so that was really cool. And then, you know, obviously whitewater rafting. So, you know, for us, that's just the way these guys that are 4 years, in a way, how can we give them something back? You know, even though it's just a trip, but it was something that, you know, I think the guys that went would probably say that's something they'll remember forever. You know, I certainly will too.
Absolutely. There's so much anticipation coming into camp, especially amongst the players. We know why that it is, just because of the success, and then everything, the bulk of the team coming back into this year. So many guys are excited, new additions as well. And so I feel like, you know, it's really heating up. I mean, not just outside with the 100-degree temperatures that you've had to try to arrange practice around, but you guys are picked by the KCAC coaches and the media to finish first again this year. That's got to be a little bit of heat within the heat, a little bit, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just different. I guess, it's really hard because it sounds like coach talk when you say, we don't focus on the things, but, we really don't. It hasn't changed how we practice. It hasn't changed the message. It hasn't changed, the values of our program. But I guess for me, the biggest thing is seeing, from when we got here to being picked dead last in both polls, I believe, or definitely next to last, to now when, our goal is just to become relevant in the conference, right? And so then to see that to come now where, people have seen what we've built, they've seen the type of players we're bringing in, and they've seen that, man, these guys are sticking around and building something truly special. That's, it's just a tip of the cap is all it is. And, it doesn't mean that, obviously nothing's going to be given to us and all of that same stuff that every coach in America says. But for us, what it truly means is you're going to get everyone's best shot, right? And so you're not a surprise, and people are preparing for us year round, and we are someone that when if you drop a game, people, it's like they just won the Super Bowl, right? And that's okay. What we've told our kids all the time is you want to be that program. So in recruiting, and even the guys here, you want to be somewhere that when people, if you drop a game, that's their Super Bowl, which that means you've elevated your program to a spot that is a championship level. And so that's kind of where we're at, and it's, I guess you can embrace it or not. And so for us, we've just embraced it as, hey, people are, I guess, have respected and proud of the accomplishment we had. But then for us, it is a brand new team. And so my hope is, and it seems and feels like our guys that have returned are definitely raising their bar and trying to, up their level of play so that we can give this thing our best shot. And we tell all our guys, look, if we don't win a conference championship this year, that's okay. It's what we tell our guys, though, if we're not being great, if we're great teammates, if we're great students, if we represent the values of our program, if we treat people really well and we practice really hard and we come up short, then that's good enough. But for us, we call that giving it our best shot. So I feel like despite being picked and all that good stuff, I don't think our kids have, backed off it, certainly. Sure. They understand it is about, that's fine, but football is such a tough physical game. We just want to give ourselves our best shot. And as long as we do that, win or lose is good enough. And so I think our kids have embraced that, even though the difference between being picked last to being picked first. So it's been good.
Absolutely. And, everybody can speculate for themselves. I mean, just from watching last season based on the players that you graduated and the players that are going to have to step up this go around. I mean, you look at some certain positions, obviously quarterback's one that comes up to, it's always in the conversation no matter where you are, what school, what level of football. But, as far as positions go, what are you kind of looking for guys to kind of step up into those roles that they're usually been for somebody else in previous years? Yeah, no,
you're exactly right. I think just in town the other day, I've seen two different guys that played here, and they're like, what's quarterback look like, right? It's just what you live in, and when you're going to be a quarterback, you have to deal with that. That's just kind of part of the deal, and so that's been big for us. We did bring in a good class of quarterbacks by design. We brought in kids that we knew could come in and compete. We have a couple returners at that spot that we really like, and then obviously, Landon Barnes this is his fourth year, I believe. We've been here long enough. He's been here every semester I've been here, right? So this is his fourth year, okay. But he's played 3 games. We've won them all. He started a game in Zach's absence once and played really well, but it is different from being a backup to coming in to play than is when you have this, when you're this projected starter going in. And so he's done a great job of he's always been a great teammate. He's always been a coach on the field. He loves what we do, and he's always been a sounding board for Zach. And he's doing the same thing now, right? Where he's projected as the one, but we have some young guys we really like. At camp, DJ Sears from Houston, Texas is one that's really stood out. Those guys, if you watching those guys work together, have been really well. But we have the other kids, man, that have come in. James Bernard have come in. They've done a great job embracing, being new to an offense and doing all that stuff. And then Josh Moran, who's now back, and he had to battle some. He had a little bit of a setback early, but now he's back in camp and he's working back in that conversation, which we think he'll do. But as far as week one, that the guys that have been here for the last couple of weeks, those are the guys that are battling out right now. And quite honestly, they're both special athletes. They're both different, but do have some similar strengths. So we're excited to see how that plays out. We're about to scrimmage tonight, right? Obviously, we play in a week, but we're about to scrimmage tonight to see these guys in their last kind of final rehearsal, right, to see how that grades out. But excited about them. And then other guys, love our offensive line. A lot of guys that are coming back playing. I think it is the best. It's the most veteran group I've ever had. And then on top of that, it's the best freshman class we've ever brought in. So it's the deepest we've ever been. And so the challenge for them is like, well, we're the most talented group we've ever had as a whole. Can we be the toughest group we've ever had? And that's going to be, the challenge for them. Both Braden and Francis, Tanner Gaggard come back. So excited to watch those guys play. Matt Hernandez has been a guy that's played a lot of football. Love our young guys. Justin Foster, Taj has been here a long time, and seeing those kids. And obviously B-back, the two-headed guys are coming back between Chance and KJ, but love some of our young guys. Jarrett Delancey's back. He's had a little bit of a setback, but Scott Grider, local kids, come in. And offensively, it's been amazing to see how far we've come in just a camp. So love those guys. Those guys are all competing. It's hard to really, talk about those holes because they're so good. And even guys that are returning players, man, we have a guard from Halstead named Cole Herman, and he's been as physical a kid we've had, and he's just a freshman. And so that's been fun to watch. And more than that, those guys have been great teammates. And then you flip to defense. And I know, it's not to forget anyone, but we bring back the box. The whole box. Avery, Mark, Bryce Underwood,
so much depth there.
All those guys are back. Seabolt, Clark, Domo, Cade Miller, who's been a player for. That whole box is back. Drannon Lennox comes back from injury. People forget about Drannon, who's honestly, if you could pick the model of our program as a person, that's been Drannon Lennox. He's had injuries for the last 2 years. He started as a freshman, and so now he's back, and he's 3 years older and way more mature. So love our box. Trey Palmer as a returner in the corner. Obviously, I think he's the best in the conference. I'm a little selfish, but I do. Philip Williams as a safety's back, and then love our Brendan Sanders, who played a bunch in the playoff game. Grant Gotti. We love that. Young guys like Seth now, Seth Weatherby is becoming a junior, competing in play. We have a couple other transfers that have come in. So. Like you mentioned, as deep as we've been, and then obviously Logan DeMond, our kicker's back, who, he was Player of the Year a couple years ago. So we are very deep, and I know that's a long list of names. That always, you want to say guys' names. So I love those guys. I love every one of them. So proud of them, and even the guys we don't list. So proud of all those guys. But more than that, the story will be, when you lose kids. There is a leadership question to be answered, right? And I think what we were best at last year is we were our best when it got really hard and in the fourth quarter. And so that's going to be, that kind of remains to be seen. I believe we have that character makeup on our team, but that's going to be the question early. Like against McPherson, something bad will happen, right? Whatever that is, I don't know, football, bad things happen, And so how are our guys respond to that? And the secret last year was we responded really well, and we always bounce back. And so that's the challenge for our team this year, despite returning a bunch of players, is who does that and who fills that void, especially on the offensive side. So.
Just to put a bow on that, Coach, it's been really good to see. This is going into my third year covering the team, and just see your first full recruiting class. Now that we were freshmen back then, and they were playing in those games, and you hoped to an 8-win season that year, 8-3, and now they have taken on a little bit of a leadership role these years now, and so it's really cool to see these guys stepping up through the system. And also, it speaks a lot for your program as well, just keeping guys in house, and it's not a transient place by any means, and I'm sure that's a value that you have as well. So when we come back here on the Thresher Football Show, we're going to talk about the McPherson College Bulldogs as the Threshers open on a Thursday night inside Bulldog Stadium in McPherson. We'll be back after this break.
Thresher fans, get ready for the 2021-2022 school year by becoming a member of the Bethel Booster Club. Your membership impacts all athletic programs by paying for experiences last year, such as the Threshbees Award Show, postseason experiences and postseason tickets, the Hall of Fame banquet, enhanced live streaming equipment, windscreens at Thresher Stadium, improvements at Weedle Field and Ward Tennis Center, and new wall mats inside Thresher Gym. Be a part of Thresher Athletics history in a booster club that has grown 500% in the past 5 years, over 4 levels of membership plus a parent level. Join the Bethel College Booster Club today to help student athletes live out life-changing experiences. For more information, go to bethelks.edu/booster-club today.
Dan Page back with Terry Harrison, head coach of the Bethel Threshers, here for the Thresher Football Show, the first one of the new season. And it was kind of cool last year to do one each week, and we brought it back. We even did one in Kentucky, and we were hoping for more feedback on that one last year, where he had live interaction. So maybe we'll do that again sometime.
Yep.
Hopefully we can get some good questions in there, not about you coaching tennis.
Yeah, well, the problem is you do that as people I know. I think there was a Huey Lewis question about the power of love in there too. So there you go. You get what you asked for, I guess.
Who says this is not entertaining? All right, but seriously though, the Threshers, like we said in the first segment, picked by the coaches and the media in the KCAC to finish first, I believe. So there's national polls that have you guys at 11 and 12 and somewhere along there. But just looking at the KCAC, Coach, you had 4 teams finish in the top 25 last year, projected probably 3, maybe even 4 this year in the top 25 to start the season. It's getting pretty competitive.
Yeah, it's what happens is when you have success as a conference, the kind of a rising tide lifts all ships, and that's kind of what's happened with the success of our conference over the last 4 years in the postseason. It's raised everyone's levels of play, which is awesome. That's really good for the conference, and so that's kind of. I think we're even at a better spot as a conference now, and we're getting competitive nationally and competing in playoff games, and with Kansas Western winning some playoff games. When Coach Drinkle was there over the couple years, and then us last year going toe-to-toe national champion for all of pretty much 3 quarters. It's good for the conference, right? And we want to be at the top of that, or we definitely want to be in the hunt of that. And so I think what we're seeing now on the national level is getting top 4 guys getting votes or being ranked or whatever that looks like, and it's going to ebb and flow week to week depending on how things play out. But we're always going to be in the hunt, and I think what's good about that as a parent and a family member and a fan of our program, we know all of our goals are attainable, and so we know if we can compete at the conference championship level, we're going to have a shot to compete for a national championship, and that's I think that's all you can ask for, because then you got to do the work and you have to play well and respond to all the adversity we've kind of already talked about. But it is good for us to have ranked teams in our conference, and it is good for us to play out of conference games and all that stuff. So yeah, it looks to be as competitive a year as we've ever had, and based on what I'm hearing on other teams in the conference, it will be every Saturday will be a dogfight, which is kind of what we're built for, and we just hope to be a part of those top 3, top 4.
Absolutely. And Coach, breaking down the poll, Kansas Wesleyan was right behind you preseason. No surprise there. I think they had a different team last spring than they did in the fall, and I'm sure they'll bring a lot of those guys, or at least a good contingent of them, back for this fall. But then you have like Avila at number 3, who technically was tied with the conference championship with you guys. Southwestern had a great season, their best under their coach, and from there on out, you got Ottawa, Tabor, McPherson, Friends, and Sterling, Bethany, and St. Mary. So that's kind of how it shakes out. But you guys get McPherson first, and that first game of the year is so much different. I mean, last 2 seasons you opened up home against Avila, and then you opened up home against Bethany. That was kind of nice to open up at home, but you're not going too far for this first one on a Thursday night, but it's got to be a great feeling getting ready for this McPherson game. Yeah,
it's a little bit of both, right? So it wound up on Thursday. Everybody has so much going on. I think they had a volleyball, or they had something going on Saturday. They just reached out, will you play on Thursday? And it's like, hey, our kids, yes. Our kids will be so tired of practice by then. Let's just go ahead and play. And so that's kind of how the Thursday thing worked out. It's so bizarre, and I always relate back to high school because I was a high school coach, but at the high school level, there's so many team camps and jamborees and scrimmages. Even though you haven't played a game by week 1, you have film, you kind of know what to expect, and it's a little easier to game plan, as opposed at the college level, there is none of that. There's no very little scrimmaging, and if there's no access to that film, and there's really no trade of scrimmage, and so quite honestly, we're going to go to McPherson, and we'll see when we get there who they might have had. You hear rumblings of things, and so we'll see. So you just have to kind of do your best to prepare for multiple things, right? And so that's kind of what we've been doing, and our coaches do a great job of that. That's which has been really good. But I think McPherson, pick 7. They didn't play in the spring. I don't know why they opted out of the spring. We had a handful of teams that did, so they haven't played a game since last fall. But that could be a negative, I guess. But that could also be, they've just been practicing. They had a full spring ball practice. Their coaches basically, didn't coach games anymore. They recruited while we were playing football games, and so it could be a benefit to them too. And so you have to approach it that way. So we're approaching this assuming, that they'll have a whole new team, all of which are improved, better players, and we'll just see who shows up. And so I think they, they'll do a good job, and I know they recruit really hard. And so we'll have to give those guys our best shot. And in week one, right, you never know what to expect. So I think the team culture part of this thing will be a big part of the game. And I know our guys will be ready to play for sure. And so hopefully we get those guys prepared and give our kids a chance to line up properly, depending on what they may do. And we play well. So it is bizarre. Week one though, we have no idea other than who we play. So.
Well, and then all you have really is last year's film where you guys went up there, same place, same setting, and put up 50 points on them, and that was just really interesting. Braden Francis had a couple touchdown catches. You guys ran the ball extremely well. Defense played extremely well. I only gave up 2 touchdowns. Those were late.
Yeah.
So that kind of game, I guess, can help you see what they have from a strategy and a scheme wise carrying over into this year. So.
Yeah, and the thing with that is it's really, we've kind of talked about as coaches, that last year's game, they were very talented, number one. They had very good players. It was one of those games for them. It was very fortunate for us, but it kind of steamrolled, and we had some turnovers and converted scores really quickly. And we've been on the other end of that, right? At Lindsey Wilson, it's what happened to us. It just kind of what's happened to them to where it was competitive for a bit, and then it just kind of worked out in our favor late. So it certainly wasn't a lack of talent on their end. And so we are giving them our full attention and know that they're a very good team, a very talented team. And so last year will help a little bit. Surely it won't vary that much,
Sure.
but certainly we prepare for a little more than what we would have saw on film last year.
I think the biggest wild card going into that game was they had only seen your defense, kind of surprising teams after the week before against Avila, and so they'd only seen a week of film on that, and now I'm sure they picked through it a little bit, but that's the thing that coaches do, right? You guys adjust no matter if it's your guys or any other team in the conference.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And what we've done every year is we've always kind of shifted our defense year to year and kind of made it fit the talent of our players. And I think last year was probably the biggest change we've ever made as far as schematic things, but we have some things this year we feel like we've adjusted to fit our personnel as well. So that kind of will be the telling part, right, of how they handle that. And so that's the chess match of football, right? And then we get to do something else, and so it'll be fun. And more than anything, we get to play football. Our kids are healthy. Our kids are flying around. It's a Thursday night, which will be the only game being played at that time, I think, in the country. And so, man, what an opportunity for our program to showcase ourselves on the national level of how we play and our team culture and all those things. So it should be really fun. And
then the next 2 weeks, you get Friends at home, and Friends plays Kansas Wesleyan in their first game, which is good for you guys because you get a little bit of exposure to those two teams, and then you play Kansas Wesleyan at home in week 3. I think that's kind of interesting just because those two teams gave you a little bit of resistance last year. I mean, everybody does, but those games were in particular, I remember just being pretty tough for you guys. Friends, not just the team they were playing, but the weather and everything that went with it. But Kansas Wesleyan playing them in the spring and being the only conference loss you guys had. So.
Yeah, well, I will never forget the Friends game for sure. So it was the coldest I've ever been in my life, and so I think we fumbled 16 times and lost 12 or 12, and I don't know, it was some outrageous number. I mean, it was to a point we were laughing. Like, as a coach, I didn't know what else to do on the sideline. Like, it almost became comical, like the amount of times we fumbled the ball, and it was absolutely freezing. And so, anyway, I'll certainly remember that one. And we, hopefully, if we can not have a monsoon and freezing weather, bring it on. We'll play Friends any day of the week, so as long as it's not freezing like that. So, it was a crazy game. But no, certainly it's a pretty unique little round, basically a little round robin we have going right the first couple weeks. And so, and certainly teams that are always talented between McPherson, Friends, and Kansas Wesleyan, by far and above, always as talented a team physically as in the conference. And so we will, we're going to be tested, our physicality, our ability to tackle, will be tested probably as much as in that 3-game stretch as it will all season long. And so we're going to have to, balance taking care of our kids' bodies with, getting prepared to play those physical matchups. And so hopefully manage that really well.
And then breaking down the next 3 weeks, you're at Ottawa, home against Bethany, and then you're at Southwestern for a huge game.
Yeah.
It was interesting 2 years ago when we went down there and we're up at halftime, and then this last year's game, who can forget that? I mean, that was one of the biggest Bethel football games ever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But those three teams, they present some challenges as well.
Yeah, and the funny part is, I think in the last couple of years, there may be some stretches in the conference where maybe you felt like, you have a little bit of a not break, but it definitely, the matchups are better. But there's no 3-game stretch in our conference matchup in our slate this year that there's a week we can't bring our best shot, and so those guys will be tough. Like you talk about Southwestern, for whatever reason, every year we play those guys have been super competitive games and came down to the wire. And obviously last year, honestly, it's probably my favorite game I've ever coached in. Just watching our kids come down and make that drive in the last couple minutes and doing so much of just their will to win was like nothing I've ever seen, and it was all kids. It certainly wasn't us, and so. That's something I'll remember forever, just because that game meant so much, and we knew that was pretty much if we can win that, we got a pretty good shot to win this thing. And so that was what a great game, and I'm sure they'll be ready to play us and want to get back on the field again. So they do a great job there. So yeah, what you talk about, man, just a tough stretch of three games and 3 games. That 6-game stretch will be incredibly difficult.
And then looking at the other 2021 matchups for the Threshers, Avila at home again this year, and then at Sterling, home against Tabor, which is always a fun one. Mm-hmm. And you guys, we'll talk about the lack of a bye week for you in a moment, but at St. Mary, and then at West Texas A&M against the D2, and down in Canyon, Texas, as a really just, is it more or less an exhibition game more than anything?
Yeah, exactly right. It's one of those deals. The way the schedules work, it's a matrix, right? You don't pick your schedule, and the conference is made randomly. Well, we're in this 2-game stretch. We had that week 11 bye week. It's the last week of the season, which is the worst, by the way. I mean, it's a bad draw on as far as bye weeks go. Mm-hmm. And so how do you find a game to play? And what we've said since we've gotten here, and I know we've talked about this on the show before, is we're gonna play non-conference games. We're just gonna do it. Our kids want to play football. We will play anyone. And the hard part worked out. That week it's almost impossible to find someone with an open schedule. And so West Texas A&M AD reached out to us and said, "Hey, we're open. Not sure if you'd be interested." And I was like, "Well, yeah, we'll play." And I guess you had to get called out on, will you really truly play anyone? And I just let them know, like, yeah, we'll play. And the cool part will be that's about 5.5, 6 hours. It's just outside of Amarillo, just south of Amarillo. But they just built a brand new stadium there, and honestly did a phenomenal job. It's as nice of a small college football stadium in the country, and so it will be a great experience for our kids. They've been a good Division II team. They've been middle of the top part of their conference down there. We recruit against those guys all the time, so we're recruiting the same kids. And so, it'll be a great experience for our guys to go down there, and for us, man, hopefully we're sitting there getting ready to go play a playoff game. So it's kind of a dress rehearsal for a playoff game. And obviously, and if not, man, what a great way to finish it out with this group of kids that have been here for 4 years. And so hopefully, again, we're making that playoff run. But outside of that, why not strap it up one more time with guys like Josh Seabolt and all these guys, Marvin Phillips, all these guys that have been 4-year guys, Drannon, and all these kids that have been here for so long. And so if we get that opportunity, I've told everyone we play Alabama if they wanted to play it. We just, that's why we're here. That's why our kids come here. And if I get one more opportunity to go out on the field with the likes of the kids we've talked about, the Mark Laniers, the Dominique Copelands, who have invested so much in this program, we're going to do it. And I think our parents have embraced that. And so we've actually had really good luck out of conference. And so, man, we're going to go down there, and I'm not sure if they know we run Flakesbone yet, and I'm not sure if they know what we do on defense, but we're going to go give it our best shot there down in Amarillo, Texas. So it should be fun. And
you guys aren't the only NAIA team on their schedule either. So, they'll be a little bit abreast to this brand of football to some degree, I think. So the Threshers 2021 football season, it's here. We're excited for it. Camp is coming to an end. The season is emerging, and you better be ready for it. It's pretty simple, folks. So you can catch all the Thresher football games through the KCAC network this year, as we've changed our streaming to improve it based on previous years. So hopefully you can enjoy all those, and some of the postseason will be more available to fans as well. So that's a great move by the conference, and everybody's happy to be a part of that. So that's going to end it for our show this week. Thank you for watching all of last year, and we're excited for this new season. I'm Dan Page. He's Coach Terry Harrison. Roll on.